Welcome to the original Gangsters podcast. I'm your host, Scott Burnstein. Quick hitter edition. We're going to go back up to Quebec. We ain't going to talk about the war, though. We've been talking a lot about the Hells Angels residual mob war coming to an end, but this is strictly 81 Nation. Some OG Hells Angel news to get to. A OG Hells Angel from Montreal, Jacques the Spade Pelletier, who was a participant in the most infamous underworld massacre in Canadian history, the Lennoxville Massacre from the spring of 1985, one of 7 people that were charged in that case, even though there was allegedly more than a dozen hitmen, where the South Shore Hells Angels purged the Sherbrooke chapter up north. 5 members of the chapter, including the president, who they called the Englishman, were brought to a meeting and brutally stomped, strangled, stabbed, and shot to death in front of 50 to 100 other Hells Angels as a show of power by the South. And Mr. Pelletier was a part of that. But Mr. Pelletier he's been out of prison now for 12 years and had to go back for a little bit, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. So just last week, the parole board in Canada let Jacques Pelletier free after being in detention for 3 months related to a road rage incident / car accident / bike accident back in October of 24. Pelletier has kind of lived up to his reputation as he's an OG Hells Angel, and those OGs back in the day, they could get wild, and they're true bad boys. And Pelletier, in the 12 years that he's been out of prison from his role in the Lennoxville Massacre, where he served 27 years, he has been returned on various violations and restrictions of his lifetime parole. This was, I believe, either his 5th or his 6th time that he had to go back and serve a short sentence. The belief initially from the law enforcement in Quebec was that he had violated his parole restrictions because he was either inebriated or got into a shouting match at the scene. And I guess there was possibly some, looting that maybe he was threatening people, but basically it was because the allegations were that he was drunk. He didn't take a breathalyzer, but he did submit to a blood test, and the blood work came back that he was free of intoxicants when the accident took place. Within a couple of weeks, they violated him, and he was locked up for 3 months. Parole board came back and ruled that there were no violations and set him free. So Jacques Pelletier, who they call the Spade or the Shovel, and was, right at the center of the Lennoxville Massacre, back on the street. This is a guy that really needs no introduction around the Quebec biker scene, long-standing 81 with, lots of stripes. So Pelletier back on the street after 3 months of incarceration, his 6th alleged violation of his parole, but it was decided that it wasn't a violation, but he still had to do those 3 months. But he's free. He's almost 70 years old right now. I'm not very clear on where he stands with the current leadership, Marty Robert and company, so I won't speculate. But this guy is, the OG. And the last thing I'll say on this, when we're talking about Lennoxville, we don't have to get into the particulars of the blood and guts. If you're watching this and you're interested in Canadian biker lore and Canadian underworld history, I'm sure you've heard the story of the Lennoxville Massacre. But I think what's most interesting about it, looking at it from a 30,000 foot view, more micro than macro, was that really was a turning point for 81 and the way they approach things. And it kind of went from, all fun and games and anything goes. And, I guess it was kind of unchecked chaos and madness to a more buttoned up way of doing business. And from 85 forward, under the leadership of Mom Boucher and then the people that came after him, Marty right now, these guys are, they like to let loose and they like to party. And that's part of the Hells Angels brand. But I think in 85, the South guys were fed up with the North guys in Sherbrooke just acting a fool. And they were drugs and drinking and, wrecking bars became more important than making money. And I think in that point in the 1980s, in terms of Canadian Hells Angels, it was a real turning point because that was no longer accepted or tolerated. And if you weren't taking care of your business was going to take care of you. Like, the five dead from that massacre. So Jacques Pelletier is back out after 3 months inside, 69 years old, heading towards 70, and seems to be still quite able-bodied, and he's a spitfire. So please keep checking back here at the OG Pod for all your latest breaking news when it comes to underworld gangland affairs, LCN bikers across North America. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit us up on the Patreon members only for a little different types of content, a little more analytical. We're doing some exclusive content with some LCN guys that have never told their story. And then we do a little bit, more 30,000 foot view than talking about specific arrests and busts and deaths and murders. So check it out. Scott Burnstein, OG Pod, uncovering the underworld, one city, one region, one country at a time.